A very good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final session today. The final session of the penultimate qualifying round in this Victorian Plumbing UK Championship. Our featured match this evening is China's Zhang Anda against Liverpool's Allan Taylor. Taylor not travelling far to be here in Wigan. Zhang, of course, is a ranking event winner and a big favourite to win this match. But Taylor has, in the past, produced some really good isolated performances.
Allan Taylor.
If he starts to buzz, we could see a continuation of the many shocks we've seen thus far. So this is the last night of the third qualifying round. Tomorrow and on Thursday, it is Judgment Day. The final qualifying round to determine who goes into the draw in York. And heading our coverage for that one is a man who's with me right now, Rob Walker. Rob, Judgment Day, whether it's the UK Championship or the World Championship, it's something else.
Good evening, Phil. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, there's something really, really special about Judgment Day. We were well established for the World Championship, and of course, that's such a huge carrot to dangle, the opportunity to appear at the Crucible. But I think some magic has been re-injected into the UK Championship. Zhang Anda couldn't get over the line with that first opening pot. But Judgment Day has reignited the UK Championship because once again, it's a big prize just to get to the Barbican rather than everybody playing there. Last 128, 4 tables out the back, 4 tables at the front of the arena. Now it's glitzy, it's glamorous. Allan Taylor first in with this opening frame, but it's such an exciting warm-up tomorrow and on Thursday. I mean, the matches we've got tomorrow, just to whet your appetite. Table 1 in the afternoon, Dan Wells, Dave Gilbert. Table 2, Stephen Maguire, so often produces his best at the UK Champs, winner in 04. He's up against Ian Burns. Michael Holt, remember Holty last year, made it back to the quarters for the first time in a quarter of a century. He's up against Hwan Si-yun, and he came back from 3-1 and 5-3 down against Rhian Evans. And Liu Heo Chan against Mitchell Mann will be on WST Play, will be on WST YouTube, and will be on Discovery Plus. It'll be anchored by Dave Hendon in comms. Ken Doherty, 3 times a UK Championship finalist. He will be here. He's already up in Wigan. We're going for a curry soon just to talk through the drama of tomorrow. And Stephen Hallworth lost out to Joe O'Connor, so he's not in Judgment Day as a player, but he'll be on air. And there's an opportunity to win a World Snooker Tour quiz book, 1 per session. And the evening matches, Slessor against Surety, the Leicester Derby, O'Connor against Wollaston, Jamie Clark against Zhou Yulong, and Scott Donaldson against Stuart Bingham. Judgment Day Part 1, Phil, is going to be absolutely brilliant. It really does mean a great deal now just to get to the Barbican. And I think the fact that it's only the 32 who go up to Yorkshire, make the trip across the Pennines, I think it's reinvigorated the UK Championship. It really has.
Yeah, it is the top 16 seeds with 16 qualifiers from here. And I think, you know, Rob, multi-table coverage, I love it.
So do I. So does Dave Hendon. He's in his absolute element. We'll be coming on air, and then within 3 minutes, I think, of us sort of teeing things up alongside Ken, we will be rocking and rolling around the tables. You will not miss a single ball tomorrow and on Thursday. And I think midway through the afternoon on Thursday, Phil, around about 3 o'clock, if my memory serves me correctly, we will have the live draw. Of course, there'll be plenty of either-ors because we won't have seen the end of the afternoon matches, perhaps, and there'll be the 4 matches in the evening to finish. But it'll whet the appetite for the mountainous matches to come when we do get to the Barbican. And we've had some brilliant first rounders at the Barbican. One of my all-time memories, this year's UK Championship will be my 19th. I know you've probably done way more than that, but not too far off 2 decades worth of UK experiences. And one of my favourite moments, Phil, was just a couple of years ago. The noise for Jimmy White when he came down the stairs playing Ryan Day, making it back to the last 32 of the UK Championship as a former winner, was one of the highlights of my career. The UK Championship, first round in inverted commas, at York, now we're down to 32, is very, very special. And that's what the best in the world who haven't qualified automatically will be battling for tomorrow and on Thursday.
Yeah, it is a tournament where there's one major plot, who's going to be UK champion, because it is a really prestigious event. But the way the circuit is set up these days, there's so many subplots, and of course, all of those will be explored as you go through tomorrow and the next day.
Yes, we'll be looking ahead to see whether Sean Murphy can replicate the kind of form he's produced already this season. Some would say he's back almost to his best. And on the WST podcast just a day or two ago, we were talking, Stephen Hendry and I don't know whether you agree with this, Phil, because we were there at the Champ of Champs. Selby is back to his best. Now, I know Judd Trump had some issues with his cue and with his tip in that final, but Selby was relentless with his scoring. And I just wonder, he's won it twice, not for a while. He's had a 147 at the Barbican with a fabulous black to the middle to finish off. Selby's in cracking shape, and it's been a little while since he's got his hands on the UK title. I wonder, just maybe.
Steve Davis won the UK Championship 6 times. In the 80s, he was dominant in that tournament. Stephen Hendry had a great record also. Ronnie O'Sullivan, an unprecedented record in the championship. But the days of dominance are over. Look at this season. We've had 11 tournaments, 11 different winners.
And am I right in saying that the only multiple finalists would be Murphy and Trump? I think there are only 2 men this season have been in multiple finals. That is how unpredictable it's been. And what about this, Phil? 2 147s here this week. So it's already, we're not even at the end of November, and it's a record number of 147s for an entire season. That is crazy.
Well, I said this last night because I was commentating with Dave Hendon on the Changbing Yu 147, that there was the 16th this season, the record breaker. And I said this last night, when you consider the 1980s are considered the golden era of the game, in the entire 1980s, in pro competition, 8 147s were made. Already this season, we've had double that from July to November.
It is an incredible statistic, absolutely incredible. This is interesting with Zhang Anda, by the way, because, of course, he had a whole hatful of points coming off after his international championship win 2 years ago. So he's no longer in the 16, hence he is here. So interesting to see how he goes against Allan Taylor. Just before I head off and you get to the great dulcet tones of Dave Hendon, what a brilliant double act you two are. There's another little subplot bubbling along here. We're talking about the class of 92. John had his 50th in May. Mark Williams had his 50th back in March. Ronnie's is during the forthcoming UK Championship. If he were to make it to quarter-final Friday, he'd be playing the quarter-finals on his 50th birthday. But my goodness me, he's in an absolutely savage portion of the draw. Selby in the, inverted commas, second round. Brutal.
Yes, and that portion of the draw might be enhanced by some really spicy qualifiers we don't know yet. So just before you go, Rob, because this frame, it seems, is coming to an end, just give us a reminder when you're on air tomorrow.
We will be live, Phil, Judgment Day Part 1, WST Play, WST YouTube, Discovery Plus, 1 o'clock. We will be rocking and rolling around the 4 tables, anchored with Dave Hendon. The 3-time UK Championship runner-up Ken Doherty will be in the studio and in comms, and the brilliant Stephen Hallworth, who missed out on a place in Judgment Day, played some good snooker here, but lost out to Joe O'Connor. He will also be giving us the benefit of his insight. And if all that wasn't enough, 1 book per session, the World Snooker Tour quiz book, will be available to win. And we've had record numbers of viewers so far. So tune in, Judgment Day Part 1, 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Be there or be square.
Thanks for the guest appearance, Rob. That was a very quick frame. Zhang Anda winning it nicely after Allan Taylor was in first and was rather unlucky, wasn't he, to leave the table as swiftly as he did. So Zhang looking pretty sharp, as you might expect. The bookmakers, they do vary the odds, all the different bookmakers, but essentially Zhang 1-6 to win this match. Allan Taylor, a large priced 7-2 to cause an upset. Now, I must tell you, after we went off air this afternoon, obviously various matches reached their conclusion, but two didn't. Hossein Vafai and Dwayne Jones, that match was suspended at 4-4, and they will resume later on. Liam Highfield and Pang Junsu, even slower going. Highfield's 4-3 ahead when they resume later. Basically, it will be a case of playing on the first available table, but with best of 11s, it could be quite a wait.
Second frame. Run out.
Zhang Anda is one of those players who, when he's on form, you never expect him to miss. Conversely, though, he can endure almighty struggles. Normally, it's a fast, charismatic player who has a wide gap between best and worst. You'd never say Zhang was a fast player. He's certainly not slow, but yeah, the difference between optimum form and struggling form with him, huge. So after Rob Walker's guest appearance, Dave Hendon is back in the comms box.
Yeah, what a warm-up, man. Well, thanks to Rob for coming in, and we're looking forward to Judgment Day. Who's going to make it through, though, the last 8 spots up for grabs? And, of course, Zhang Anda last year, one of the highlights in York was his maximum. Real buzz about the arena that night. But can he get back there? Made a good start, but we know that these matches, we've seen it over the last few days, can get very edgy later on. So will it be another one of those nights, or can he just get on top of Taylor early on here? He's a confusing player, isn't he, really, because we've seen him play absolutely world-class snooker. Ben Wollaston will tell you about that. The 4, not only centuries, but total clearances Zhang had against him in Saudi Arabia last year. But the fact is he's lost his top 16 place. I know those points have come off from the International Championship, but not enough points went back on. So question, I guess, now is which way does he go? Does he keep on sort of going back to where he was before, a middle-ranking player, or can he get back in the top 16? We'd have to start being a lot more consistent to do that and going deep in tournaments again.
Yeah, the match you mentioned in Saudi Arabia against Wollaston was simply extraordinary. I saw Ben afterwards. He was literally walking around in a daze. He couldn't quite believe what had happened.
Nine.
Well, one thing I noticed from the first frame, Dave, I'm sure you did too, Zhang is playing a little quicker for me than normal. That's a good sign.
Yeah, and it's also true, isn't it, that, you know, we've seen players get in the top 16 and they're actually a little uncomfortable with that status. But in this environment, you know, play maybe to a high level. But, of course, ultimately, if you play in York, either as a top player or a qualifier, there's going to be big pressure on. What a win it was for our team Zhuzhen. We'll hear from him tomorrow. We've recorded an interview we'll show you during our Judgment Day coverage. But Ali Carter, I think, well, we did those predictions, didn't we, for World Snooker Tour, when there were 7 people who did it. We all tipped Carter to qualify, but he didn't actually get through round 1 for him.
Well, so far, my tipping credibility is in shreds. Thank heavens for not on Sankam, I say. Yeah, so this afternoon, the main table, Jack Lazowski beaten 6-2 by Louis Heathcote. Our team, Zhuzhin, beating Ali Carter 6-4. Nopon Sankarm coming through against Mikhail Shubachik. The 14-year-old from Poland making his first ever century on the tour. Ryan Day, comfortable with a 6-1 win over Liam Graham. 6-1 also for Long Ziwang over Aaron Hill. Now that to me is a surprise. Long Ziwang is a good player, but Hill's been playing nicely this season, and certainly the size of the defeat for Hill, that's what was really surprising. And then David Lilly, he beat Ricky Walden 6-3.
Yeah, and of course 2 matches still to come back on later. Liam Highfield 4-3 upon Pang Zhengzhou, Dwayne Jones and Hossein 5-4 each. So they're in that awkward position of just waiting for a slot to become free. Zhang just considering whether to have the white replaced.
It's not the start that Taylor wanted, losing that first frame, but he's already established a personal best at this qualifying competition. Never been past the last 112 in the UK Championship before. And bear in mind, this is his 12th appearance in the event. But as I said in the first frame, underestimate Taylor at your peril. There have been sporadic instances. I remember one World Championship qualifying competition where he scored outstandingly.
Well, he's very enthusiastic, Alan. You know, he's always positive and cheerful. He's just trying to make that next step. You know, getting on tour is hard enough. Staying on tour is even harder. And then climbing the ranks so that you're not in the perpetual bubble of will I be relegated or not at the end of the season. But Zhang Anda was in that position, wasn't he, a few years ago? You know, he was around the cut-off, and of course he got to a final, won a tournament in quick succession.
6.
Yeah, Taylor needs points. Oh, and that will do. His cause no good whatsoever.
Allan Taylor, 6.
Yeah, there's a 50 place gap between these two in the rankings. Zhang Anda 25th, Taylor 75th.
Winner plays either Tepchara Nu or Robbie Williams. It's already 2-0 to Tepchara Nu there. They've only been going 19 minutes, which is about par for the course with him. And Zhang Anda knocks in a good red with the rest. It's a bit unlucky that really to finish there. I suppose he's still got the green if he wants it, but it was a really good pot. Yeah, Tepchara's had breaks of 84 and 129 already. That's a terrific green, so 2 good rest pots. It's almost like with Zhang, you kind of know how he's going to play from early on, don't you? We've seen him struggle before now, but he's played good stuff already here. So it's shaping up to be maybe one of his better nights.
Referee for this one is the distinctive figure of Nico de Vos.
Been another century, He Guo Chang, a 1-2-9 first frame against Stan Moody. You know, there's been some seriously good snooker play before we get to York, including by people knocked out, not least last night, Chang Bing-yu, 3 centuries, including a maximum, but of course was beaten by Stephen Maguire.
20.
For a split second there, I thought the red might stick to the cue ball, but there is just enough room to get by. Always on the far jaw. Zhang dislikes that immensely because that was an authentic frame-winning chance.
Scottish Open champion Lei Pei Fan has just made a last red to black clearance to take the first against Zhang Jun, who's been scoring so well to get to this round. Won 2 matches already.
He's got good form, Allan Taylor. Cues very nicely. Plays aggressively. Orthodox cueist.
Yeah, I commentated on his match with Ronnie O'Sullivan at the International Championship in Nanjing early this season, and that, of course, went to a decider. And he was 3-1 up. He was good value for that. He started the sharper. He didn't seem phased playing O'Sullivan. But Ronnie O'Sullivan did turn it on. In fact, he made 4 centuries, including one in the decider to win. But the fact that Ronnie's made 4 centuries and only won 6-5 does say something about how well Allan Taylor played.
He's 10 behind, so if he pots the 4 open reds with blacks, he'll be 22 in front. He will need the awkward red close to the left-hand side cushion.
$31.
You can never describe Taylor as tentative. Gets through the ball nicely.
$38. $39.
And all of this came about because Zhang very surprisingly missed that pink to middle. Well, Taylor gambled on trying to remove the awkward red. He didn't do so, and now this mid-distance pot
45.
could be missed. I think he's got the cue action that could deal with this kind of shot.
56.
Always thought that red was in a pretty good spot to double.
53.
I think he's got pretty good odds of making this. Bingo.
54.
Unlucky with the kiss on the black, mind you. He's 21 in front. But of course on the colours that means 27 are there.
Yeah, I mean, just needed to land on the black, didn't he? And it was basically frame over. And of course, okay, he's 21 in front, but nothing safe as it stands.
Bingo.
Just looking to roll in behind the pink.
Allan Taylor. 54.
It's a nice contribution, not quite a frame winner.
For a moment I thought that Zhang had caught that yellow a little too thick. But the yellow didn't travel down the table quite as much as I thought it would. Zhang will be delighted that the green still goes past the brown because, of course, if he gets the chance, Zhang will need all the colours. Really good pot.
2.
Really good pot and control of the cue ball associated. So this is frame ball and the green does float in. I was certainly starting to think about 2-0, and then Zhang missed the pink to middle. He wasn't doing a great amount with the cue ball. It wasn't too complex a shot, but it's been
9.
a damaging shot, a costly one.
Meanwhile, Tepchar knew 3-0 up on Robbie Williams. He just had a 67 break to follow the 84 and the 129. I suppose if you're one of those players waiting to come back on, you probably just think, OK, well, what table is Tepchar and New on? Because win or lose, it's not going to take long. And, well, he's already 3-0 up.
20 on frame. Allan Taylor.
Good stuff from Allan Taylor. Big outsider in this match, but he has shared the first 2 frames. It is 1-1. Now, of course, the championship proper at York begins on Saturday at the Barbican. It is a really cracking atmosphere, not just at the event, but also around York itself on the lead up to Christmas. Beautiful city, of course, with so many attractions. And there are limited tickets available for certain sessions of the UK Championship. And if you really fancy pushing the boat out, what about the VIP 1875 club packages? Now, they include seats in the front 2 rows, champagne and a 3-course meal. So you get to see the very best in the business, because that's what is going to occur at the UK, because all of the world's top 16 are going to be there. You get some really nice food, and you get the best seat in the house. It's a great tournament, Dave.
It is, and the location helps as well, doesn't it? Because York is a beautiful city in the north of England. It's just before Christmas, have the Christmas markets, but even if it was in June, it would still be a wonderful place to visit. Very friendly city, lots to do, very historic. So in between the snooker, if there's time, you can do a bit of exploring and then settle into the Barbican, which is a very nice venue, and enjoy the 9 days of action. And as Phil says, you're guaranteed to have, of course, the top 16 there, and whoever comes through over the next couple of days.
When I checked out of my hotel at the Champion of Champions in Leicester recently, I bumped into a couple of fans, a couple from Toronto in Canada, who were over for that event, and they said their next jaunt back across the Atlantic was the German Masters. And I suggested to them that in future they might want to circle the UK Championship in York. Now, potting from distance has never been Zhang's great forte. He's much more a control man, a high scorer. Well, he's left Taylor in immediately here.
Well, just didn't quite control the shot as intended. Made that good 54 in the last frame, but well, if he's going to make a break here, he's going to have to knock in this long blue. And he's done that very nicely. Well, that'll make him feel good. That made a nice sound, didn't it?
6.
The man they call the Belgian Beast, Julian Leclerc. He's 1-0 up on Jack Jones, former World Championship runner-up.
7.
And, of course, Sam Craigie attempting to qualify from round 1. He's 1-0 down to Tom Ford, who made a 59 break in their first frame.
Taylor is trying to beat Zhang
50.
for the first time in 3 attempts. Zhang beat him in the first round of the Riga Masters in Latvia in 2017. Had runs of 124, 95 and 54 in a 4-2 win. And more recently, Zhang won 5-3 when they met in the first round of last year's World Open.
23.
So Taylor, well aware of the scale of his task.
One man, of course, not having to qualify, although he did last year as an amateur, Xiao Tong.
30.
And tonight he is at Man City's Champions League match as guest of honour. Just been interviewed on TV before the festivities begin. Just shows you
31.
the change in status. 12 months ago he was an amateur on the Q Tour, trying to get back on. Now he's world champion, much in demand. And getting free tickets, most importantly, to things. As Allan Taylor tries to get the Reds moving. Not really worked out to plan, though.
38.
these kind of shots are always a real test of nerve and technique, and I'm afraid, well, certainly in one respect,
Allan Taylor.
Taylor
30.
spectacularly fails. Last night, Dave and I were here till midnight on the Maguire Changbing Yu match. Hard to imagine this one will last quite that amount of time, Dave. The way it started, they're obviously enterprising. They're playing an open game.
You'd think so, although, of course, if it goes close later, it maybe could slow down because we've seen a lot of that already. But yeah, they're both, I think, like to get on with it. Neither's going to try and tie the other up necessarily. I think we've seen, haven't we, the last couple of days, that trying to predict the results is a fool's errand, really. It's such a strong tour now. So many good players around. You've got to be on your game. If you're not, there's plenty of players from lower down the rankings ready to knock you out.
9.
But the players who do qualify, they'll have had some real good, hard matches to warm up for the seeds on Saturday. And, of course, the top 16 coming in, they will not win any ranking points unless they win that match. So there is a little bit of pressure on some of the big hitters. There'll be upsets for sure. There always are.
$16. 17.
It's going to be 2-0 Lei Pei Fan. He's well over the line in frame 2 against Zhang Anda. One thing about the UK Championship, though, I think it's fair to say that there haven't been very many shot winners, probably more shot winners of the World Championship. You look at the Roll of Honour,
25.
you know, it's basically all the people you pretty much expect to be on it. I suppose in some ways you could argue the most surprising winner was someone who'd already won it, Doug Mountjoy in 1988, because won it 10 years earlier, was thought to be in decline, and out of the 16, 46 years of age, all the rest of it, won unexpectedly, but in general, you know, it is, as I say, it's the people who you think it's going to be.
Yeah, working on another metric. What about Matthew Stevens? But of course, we all know how classy his game was and still is.
Yeah, I don't think Matthew was really a shot winner. You know, he'd been in he'd been in one World Final at that point. He'd been in the UK final a couple of times. Ding, of course, won it at 18, so he had to come from the first qualifying round, but he'd already won the China Open. Steve Maguire had already won a ranking event, the European Open in Malta.
33.
Yeah, with Stevens, I was just working on the basis that that was his first ranking title, and up to now, his only ranking title. Which, to be honest, you can't quite believe, given the game he's got.
No, it's surprising, but I suppose if you're going to win one, make it a really big one anyway. Zhang at a critical point in the frame here. This is no gimme, this one. He's only 1 point in front. It's a very clean pot, though.
Oh, the head goes down. That tells us the yellow must be obstructing. Maybe it isn't, you know. Well, I thought he might have been a little premature with that reaction. He's okay. Totally okay.
The only good news there for Allan Taylor is I think he could see he was okay. It's not like he thinks he's not on it and he is, because where he's sat,
46.
he's actually got a better view. It's not much of a consolation, I know, but anyway, Zhang continues. 13 in front with this blue, so he will need all three reds. He'll need the awkward red on the side cushion.
$51. 52.
Just quickly, the break from Leipei Fan to lead 2-0 against Zhang Jun, 1-2-3. So another century for the list.
58.
Zhang, 20 in front, so he needs red, presumably black, then the awkward red.
59.
And he seems to have a pretty good angle to remove it here. Now, earlier today, we saw Stephen Hallworth lose to
66.
Joe O'Connor. It was 4-4 in the 9th frame. Hallworth missed a not dissimilar red to this, to the same pocket. Undercut it. Zhang has done the opposite, overcut it. So there's life in the frame yet.
66.
It's a proper trudge back to the seat as well, isn't it? He took a long time to get back to that chair, staring at the pocket, staring at the red. Good 66, but again, it's not even about the lead, really. It's about where the balls are. Everything's on, even if he has got Taylor snookered here. But Allan Taylor doesn't leave the red on, and he gets a chance. They're all there for him. Oh, but he hasn't hit it. Oh, is it the pink?
Nice.
Or did he hit the yellow first?
Zhang Anda 4.
Yeah, he hit the yellow first.
He's not singing a rainbow, he's playing one. All the colours in the sun apart from the one he wanted to hit, i.e. the red.
Which is now eminently possible.
Fault.
Well, Allan Taylor can see the funny side. I think it's more a grimace than a smile, though. Keeping it tight is Zhang. 33 in front, 27 on, so Taylor needs a couple of snookers. He has played a match in this championship already. He overcame Robbie McGuigan. One 6-4. Not a bad snooker, but you can't imagine that Zhang would miss two. He might miss this one. What he wants to avoid, of course, is leaving a free ball.
Foul.
Well, that was a strange old shot to me.
Free ball.
The last thing he wanted to do was hit the pink. Actually, no. The last thing he wanted to do was hit the pink and leave a free ball, and he's done both.
Yeah, he's hit it too hard, hasn't he? Basically, as you say, don't leave the free ball. So, what a twist. 27 in it, 27 on, but of course it's not 27, it's 29. If he could pot something here. You can actually win the frame.
Clean ball.
Well, what a turnaround. He looked at a reasonably innocuous snooker because it wasn't far to travel off one cushion, but they can slide a little. But he just hit it too hard.
I can tell you this, there'll be players in the players' room right now shaking their heads at that one. It had no logic whatsoever. He's lucky to still be in the frame, really.
Well, that's a massive chance missed. He's not left the yellow, so he might get another one. But Allan Taylor shaking his head, the emotions changing here by the shot. Didn't quite get the snooker.
Yeah, caught it slightly too thin.
Guess the pink favours Zhang at the moment. That's the one. Maybe. See if I can say this sentence. Possible stumbling block for Allan Taylor. And even then, he would need the black as well, which is also not great, really.
I think after the chance he had, unexpectedly, Taylor would be a little peeved if he lost this frame. Zhang would be entitled to be very annoyed if he lost the frame. It was essentially in his grasp. Oh, what a kiss. What a kiss.
Yeah, I mean, these little nudges, they seem innocuous, but that's anything but, isn't it? So now, well, firstly, Taylor's got to hit it. And, of course, if he leaves the yellow on, it's surely 2-1 to Zhang.
Well, a good hit, but at the very least, Zhang should retain the tactical upper hand.
Well, that yellow could have finished anywhere. I mean, it's worked out well for Zhang, but it was kind of running a bit, wasn't it? Seemed to give more thought to the cue ball, but it's not actually a snooker because, as I say, the yellow could have finished anywhere. Well, now it's finished near the pocket.
In Taylor's defence, I can't imagine that result would have happened had the cue ball not deviated slightly. A thought came to mind there. The late Willie Thorne used to say, well, that wasn't the worst shot I've ever seen, but it was in the top three. And it's cost Taylor the frame.
Yeah, I think Zhang's been a little fortunate here. You know, he nearly threw it away with the free ball. Although, to be fair, Allan Taylor missed the yellow, didn't he? But then the last shot he played to leave the yellow where it was, you know, he seemed to have hit it a bit too hard. It caught another ball, clung to a cushion. Anyway, these things happen, don't they? Fact is, he's won the frame and he's going to be back in front.
14 frame. Go on.
Can't be bothered to get the rest out to play the pink. Zhang looks at Allan Taylor. Of course, Taylor concedes. And so Zhang, after winning the first frame with a break of 78, is back in front at 2-1. But winning that frame was somewhat unconvincing. Now, we talked before between frames about tickets for York, but that's not the only snooker that's going to happen pre-Christmas before the end of the calendar year. The shootout returns to its original home at the Tower Circus in Blackpool in early December. That will be a riotous atmosphere, party atmosphere, 4 days of good fun. And what about going to Edinburgh for the Scottish Open, the last world ranking tournament of the calendar year? So many big names will be there. Again, much like York, Dave, Edinburgh, a cracking place to visit, especially with so much good snooker on as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've tended to go there in August for the Fringe over the years, which is obviously a very different time of the year, but it doesn't change the fact the city is beautiful, historic, very much like York. Lots to see outside of the snooker, although, having said that, the home nations, of course, they play basically all day long. It's 10 in the morning till whenever it's done, midnight. So, good value, the tickets there, £28 for a day ticket. And you see essentially 5 sessions over 4 tables. So, you know, you get your money's worth, to say the least. And, of course, star names there as well. John Higgins will be on home soil. Shazing Tong, Shaw Murphy, all the people you'd hope to see. And, of course, it brings the curtain down on 2025, the last chance to win a title.
And someone who's playing this evening is the defending champion. They Pay Fan. Came from nowhere to lift that trophy last year. Well, even though he's behind, I think Allan Taylor has got reason to be encouraged, reason to be optimistic. I can tell you on table 4, Tom Ford has an absolutely smashing chance to establish a 3-0 lead over Sam Craigie. Colours on this spot. Level board, basically. Well, that was loose from Zhang to hit the green there. Quite a large margin of error.
One.
It is 3-0 Ford over Craigie. Now, that was really well played for 2 reasons. One, well, actually 3 reasons. One, it was a difficult tariff shot anyway. 2, he was stretching over awkwardly. 3, he was mindful of an intervening ball.
Eight.
Yeah, I think one of the sort of issues he's had is really scoring. He's only had 2 centuries all season. One of them actually was in his last match. So it's really sort of not killing as many frames off clinically as he would like to, maybe as some of the other players do. I'm sure it's something he's working on. Of course, he was briefly the MC, Master of Ceremonies, for the Home Nations events. That's the year he wasn't on tour. And he threw himself into it. He's a larger-than-life personality, Alan. He does a lot of impressions of the other players as well.
13.
But he wants to not be impersonating anyone at York. He wants to be there as of right. And another good pot, albeit, again, just slightly lost the white. But that's the thing with break building, isn't it? It's trying to keep things simple, not having to keep pulling out these recovery shots. Try and just keep the cue ball under a bit of more control. Now, if the pink's in, that's a great shot, but it's not. And worse still, of course, he's now opened the reds for Zhang Anda.
14.
He didn't sort of pot it clean, which is why he sort of finished nowhere really here. Just having a look to see if the red does pot to the far corner between the blue and the green.
Again, it seemed a really strange shot choice, because playing it like that, lots of balls were covering each other. Nothing strange about that one, though. What a good recovery. What a pot. The best we've seen, I think, so far in the match.
Yeah, I think with the pink, he just caught it a bit thin. But anyway, he's recovered, as you say. He is a really good potter, isn't he, actually? That's what, I mean, it seems an obvious thing to say about a snooker player, but he can sort of dig himself out of trouble. You never really know what he's thinking. He's got this very calm, sort of serene demeanour around the table, but, you know, he can be deadly at times. As you say, he's just so inconsistent. I mean, his performances at the Crucible have been very poor, actually. Last couple of years, he lost to Jack Jones. Last season, he lost to Pang Zhengzhou. Neither match was great, and his performance in the match wasn't great. But, you know, Luca Brissell had that record, didn't he, for a long time, and then he ended up winning it.
Yeah, I commentated on both of those matches. He was disappointing against Pang. He was, well, frankly, terrible
21.
against Jack Jones. And yet I've seen him play some eye-poppingly good snooker.
22.
I think Stephen Hendry made a really good point when I was commentating with him on one of Zhang's matches. It might have been at Telford when he got to the final of the Players' Championship. He made the observation that when he's playing well, Zhang, he doesn't just pot the balls, he pots them right into the centre of the pocket.
$27. 28.
Very well controlled shot, and the right one to take on, because had that not quite worked out in terms of the split of the four reds, he would have had another red to middle.
Meanwhile, his compatriot He Chang is going to be 3-1 up on Stan Moody at the interval. He's already had breaks of 129.61, and he's currently on a 96 with a chance for a century. In fact, he's just made the century. Stan Moody is 64. Doesn't sound like Stan's playing bad there, but just being outplayed, it can happen.
And Stan maybe has got bad memories of last year, because it was He Chang who beat him in this championship last season.
40.
Yeah, 6-5, I think, wasn't it? So, yeah, not to the best memories playing him. Anyway, Zhang pressing on. Just gone about this in his typically sort of understated way, really. Nothing flashy. There was that good earlier recovery pot.
His birthday is coming up. Born on Christmas Day, Dave.
Yeah, only gets one set of presents.
$47. 48.
So, Not there yet, but getting closer. They still lead by 40 with 59 remaining, although, of course, that's with blacks. The black not in a great spot for Taylor. Allan Taylor had a big chance in the last frame, didn't he? He got the free ball, but then he missed the yellow and eventually lost the frame. It could have been a bit of a tide turner.
54.
Still in it, even if he is 3-1 down, but he might just look back on that frame and think that was a definite chance.
55.
But Zhang has now just clicked into gear here. It's been a nice break, this, isn't he? Never seems to be far from the next object ball, which obviously makes things a lot simpler.
Yeah, when he's in the zone, his cue ball is really neat and tidy.
61.
So this is frame ball for a 3-1 into a lead. Zhang Anda, who played, of course, in York as a seed last year, made a maximum, would love to get back there. First things first, he's got to put himself into Judgment Day itself, and he's halfway there.
Yeah, when it comes to the UK Championship, he established a personal best in 2018, getting to the last 16. But he beat that in 2023 and 24 by making the quarter-finals. That's how good he can be.
'69.
Tabchara Nu can be exceedingly good, and he's just taken a 4-1 lead over Robbie Williams.
'74. Rounder.
The break ends at 74, so does the frame, and we arrive at the interval with Zhang Anda into a 3-1 lead, halfway to victory. Now, last year's UK Championship turned out to be very profitable for Judd Trump. He's not won a tournament since, but at York last year, he was at his very best.
Is that going to be his best chance? This is pretty good. But easy hit. It's a black cushion. That's it. Playing a real telling snooker now is going to be so tough.
The only thing is, sometimes when you lay a snooker like that, Judd had no control of where the green was going to finish. So it's situations like that can give Barry a decent chance of laying the snooker. But as we've seen, it's going to have to be a good one to cause the foul from Judd. It's going to have to be a good one. He's trying to get behind the pink, he's not hit it. It was a great line, but no, shorter pace. Another opportunity for Judd to pot the green. Oh, decided against it. The one thing you've got to do in these situations, if you feel you can't get the snooker, the priority, get the object ball safe. And if you don't, then that'll be end of match anyway. Trying to sneak it behind the black. And he's only gone and done it. Okay, once again, an easy hit. But as I say, with these easy hits, Judd doesn't know where the green's going to finish. could finish next to a colour for an easy snooker. Oh, he's not knocking the black in, is he? Oh, it wasn't far away. His heart would have been in his mouth. Well, that's not what was intended. But he's glad to see it going in, I'll tell you. Keeps his hopes alive. Can he stun over towards the black? Always be wary of going in off in the left middle. And can he control the brown? That's what he's looking at. It's risky. But when you're in this situation, you might have to take a risk or two.
Hawkins, 3.
He's got it. And this is not a straightforward hit. It's always difficult when the cushion comes up pretty quick to judge how it's going to react. And if he went across the table, the pink comes into play.
This can be tricky to judge. The cue ball's so close to the cushion. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that was an excellent hit from Judd. Once again, if you can't guarantee the snooker, make certain you get the brown safe. And on the face of it, you think, well, he stuns and tries to leave the cue ball there and send the brown back up this end of the table. And I think the problem was, if he played that, the brown was almost going into the far right corner. So in the end, he decided to play safe. Could have made a better job of it than that, I feel. No reason for Judd not to go for frame and match ball.
Yeah, I don't even know what he's thinking about. I'd have been down already, trying to pop this brown. You can overthink these situations sometimes. Quite a long time to get down and play that, so he tells me he wasn't fully committed to playing the pot. exactly what John mentioned. Couldn't get a snooker, so just concentrate on getting the brown safe.
Just nudge that pink away from the cushion, so that makes another possible snookering ball. This brown needs to run, and it's not going to. So this is probably the easiest chance now for Judd Trump to clinch the match. And it goes. Yes, he'll be very relieved, Judd. There were times this evening where he looked as though he was losing it, and Barry Hawkins was getting on top of him. Barry Hawkins will be very disappointed he's still to win a Triple Crown event, but boy, did he put up a great show, beating the likes of Ronnie O'Sullivan, the defending champion.
15.
He'll win one, I'm sure. And Judd Trump, you may ask the question, how is it that it's taken him so long? Since 2011, when he first won the UK title, now 13 years later, he wins it for the second time. Great match, absolutely wonderful week of snooker, topped up by Judd Trump. And Judd Trump, you are the Victorian Plumbing United Kingdom champion 2024.
2024 Victorian Plumbing UK Champion. It's his once again, Judd Trump.
So we've just seen Judd Trump lift the UK Championship trophy last year. Who would have thought that now that would have been his most recent piece of silverware? He's got a proud record of winning at least once every calendar year for a decade plus, but to keep that record intact, he has to win either in York or in Edinburgh. While we're waiting for the players to come out, I can dissect what's occurred so far in detail. He Guo Kwang leads Stan Moody 3-1. And what a performance from him. He's made breaks of 129, 61, and then another century. Moody weighed in with an equalising second frame in which he put together a 64 break. Lei Pei Fan in control, it would seem, against his fellow Chinese player Zhang Jun. Not such heavy scoring from Lei, although he did make a 123 break in the second frame. Zhu Se and Jamie Jones. Well, that's slow going, 1-1. Zhu Se won the first frame with a 78 break. The second was really tight and took quite some time to reach its conclusion. Nothing like that in the Tepchara Nu Robbie Williams match. Anu plays snooker like an express train. He's 4-1 up. 84, 129, 67, 89. I think a lot of people would love to see Anu in York because he plays such spellbinding snooker. Jimmy Robertson is taking on Sanderson Lamb this evening. It's 2-0 to Robertson. They're on the black in a very high-scoring third frame. Lamb just can't afford to lose that one, it would appear. And Tom Ford has taken a 3-1 interval lead over Sam Craigie. Ford won each of the first 3 frames with half centuries. Craigie won the 4th with a century, 101. And just a reminder, there are 2 matches that have been suspended from this afternoon session, which are yet to reach their conclusion. So it's going to be a busy night. The 2 matches in question, Liam Highfield against Pang Junzhu. Highfield 4-3 up. Hossein Vafai and Dwayne Jones 4-4.
Well, Allan Taylor knows it could have been 2-2, but anyway, he's not out of this yet. Of course, best of 11. However, he does trail 3-1 to Zhang Anda. Zhang made that good 74, so would have gone to the interval feeling good about things. Now this red is racing down the table. Just about kind of stopped in time not to make it a sitter. At one point it looked like it'd be a little bit nearer the pocket. Yeah, it could have been easier. Now then, where's it going to finish? Oh dear, not good for Allan Taylor.
I think another Allan has been vindicated today. Alan McManus, he's got a theory about just how the weather outside affects the tables. He believes the optimum conditions for a snooker table, for it to be quite crisp and cold, but also with no rain. Well, today it's been quite sunny in Wigan, temperatures low, so it fits the bill from the McManus standpoint, and I think he's been borne out. The tables today, I think, have played very nicely indeed. They've played well throughout this qualifying competition, but today, yeah, I've noticed they've been super duper. And I think that's to the liking of someone such as Zhang, who plays a measured, precise game. I wouldn't say he's a power merchant, Dave. I would say he excels on tables like this, where you need to glide the ball around rather than bash it around.
I think that's right. It's more about touch with him, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's tempting to tune in and just think every snooker table looks the same, so plays the same, but there's a lot of different factors. The weather, certainly a big one outside. Just the layout of the venue. Different venues have different, challenges for the table fitting crew. Do a great job. I mean, there's 8 tables here. Of course, the practice tables as well, they've had to erect. And it's not a 5-minute job by any means. It's hard work, lugging all the stuff in. You've got to obviously make sure the cloth is as good as it can be, that the table's level, that it's all playing as it should do. So it's real craftsmanship.
And I will say this, conditions generally are excellent. When there is a problem, far more often than not, that problem is not the fault of the table fitters, who, like all of the backroom staff at World Snooker events, work really hard, tirelessly, lengthy hours. Same for the referees.
Well, yeah, that hasn't worked out, has it? Because he's not on the ready intended to be to right corner. So now looking at a more difficult one to middle. Play a little cannon, and again it kind of looks innocuous, but it went wrong. So now this needs good cueing, accurate cueing. Yeah, just died before the pocket, so it's a promising opening that didn't come to much. Tepchar's 5-1 up now, so maybe he's got a restaurant booked, but that's just how he plays, isn't it? I mean, he doesn't always win, that's the thing. It's got to work for him. He doesn't always, that's why he's so erratic, but when it does work, it's quite some sight.
What a tag to have, Dave. Stephen Hendry's favourite player.
Yeah, that's just because it's all over quick. Yeah, he's actually second on the average shot times this season, behind Marco Fu, who once upon a time would not have been top of that list. Meantime, Allan Taylor cannot afford those. Black off the spot. All right, he's playing into the reds, but you've got to make sure of the part. He knows that. Yeah, and, you know, he's frustrated there.
And worse still, it looked as though for a split second he got away with that, and then the black he just missed came back down table and nudged a red. This red that Zhang is trying to pot to middle. So the black was a double whammy for Taylor.
Yeah, it's concerning because he is getting chances. It's one thing to be outplayed, but, you know, he's had these opportunities and they're not coming to much. .101 from Sam Craigie, so he's on the scoreboard against Tom Ford, but 3-1 down. Of course, attempting to qualify from round one, having got back on tour after the year out with medical issues.
He's quite animated tonight, I've noticed, Zhang. He's shaking his head, which is not a normal trait for him. As Dave pointed out, normally very composed and gives precious little away in terms of his facial expressions.
Yeah, he's one of those players. I mean, I don't think we'll see him sort of whacking the table or anything, but because he's so serene normally, even just the slightest deviation in that, even just the odd sort of, you know,
17.
Gesticulation or changed expression, you know, actually his emotions are running quite high. But the balls are still going in the pockets here.
18.
And he's building a nice lead in this fifth frame. The one thing in his favour, of course, I know he's dropped out the top 16, but he's got a certain reputation now because he's won a tournament, a big one. He's been in finals. So players do look at him and they know he's the real deal. He can win tournaments. It's not a question of potential. He's actually done it.
Already 4 Chinese players through to the final qualifying round. Liu Haoshan with that remarkable 6-5 win over Matthew Stevens last night from 5-1 down. Yuan Sejun, Zhou Yulong, Long Ziwang. And Zhang Anda looks
29.
nicely positioned to join them there. although he was a little heavy-handed with that one. There's no doubt in my mind that this table is playing faster at this point than at any other point this week. The qualifiers here started on Saturday. Table really bedded in now, and it's a treat.
Yeah, I mean, the playing arena is actually really nice, isn't it? Now then, black is frame ball. So just one more good pot required. Yeah, as you say as well, as you made the point with what Stephen Hendry said, it always seems to be middle of the pocket when he's playing well. Doesn't rattle them, does he? So Allan Taylor has got big problems here. He's 4-1 down, that's half of it. The other half is 4-1 down to someone who looks very comfortable. Which might explain why Alan's watching a different table.
In show business, when someone has had a lengthy apprenticeship, learnt their craft all over the place before finally making the breakthrough, that's that old phrase, isn't there? It took him 10 years to become an overnight sensation. Well, I think that applies to Zhang. He'd been a journeyman professional for many a year, and then suddenly, he started to hit top gear.
58.
It's been another nice break, hasn't it? Anxiety-free. The odd shot to recover from, 65. But he's not made a meal of it. It's just at the moment he's sort of gliding towards 66. The winning line in this match, isn't he? I mean, things can turn around, but Allan Taylor's going to have to start playing better, or Zhang's going to have to fall off a cliff in terms of his form. Possibly both.
It's a very different match progression to the last time they played in the World Open last year. Taylor actually led 3-1 at the interval, but he didn't enjoy any more success.
78.
So just enough on for a century.
82.
Some people stride around the table. Zhang's one of those that ambles. All understated. But he gets the job done.
'93.
We are seeing a good strike rate for centuries in this qualifying competition of the Victorian Plumbing UK Championship, and there is another to the list. Zhang Anda 4-1 up on Allan Taylor. Zhang needing 2 more frames to make it to Judgment Day.
I'm going to ask you a question now, Phil, OK, based on records in the UK Championship, right? So I'm going to give you 3 records. Which do you think will be the first one to be broken? OK, so the youngest ever winner, Ronnie O'Sullivan, was 17. Hang on. Let me get the other 2 out first. Most centuries ever in a 2-session match by one player. Stephen Hendon made 7. I mean, that's in any match, but it was in the UK Championship final 1994 against Ken Doherty. And most UK Championship victories, 8, also Ronnie O'Sullivan.
All are unlikely. I think 7 centuries, the most likely, although still unlikely. I think O'Sullivan having his record of 8 broken. The one that for me will stand for quite some time. He was 17. He was a week short of his 18th birthday when he won that UK Championship in 1993. Not only the youngest ever winner of the UK Championship, the youngest ever winner of a ranking event. Yeah, that will, for me, remain on the books for the foreseeable future. Would you agree, Dave?
I would, and I think that, I mean, I posed the question, but if you think about the most titles, so Ronnie's won 8, Steve Davis 6, Stephen Hendry 5. Obviously, they've retired. The next best, John Higgins, Ding Junhui, Neil Robertson with 3. So obviously, one of those would have to win another 6. I don't think Higgins will he, at 50? And you know, he's asking a lot for either of the other 2 to do that. Centuries, I mean, obviously we're talking about the final, so it would have to be in the final. I suppose you could see that one. Very unlikely, but of the 3, maybe that's the most likely, because you would have a chance to do it every year, as opposed to, you know, a 17-year-old would have to come along and do it straight away. So we'll see. It's 3 of the great records in the tournament, in what's been, of course, such a historic event, the UK Championship. I mean, Hendry, that was the absolute peak of his powers, wasn't it? 94. You know, he'd won another world title earlier in the year. And Ken, to be fair to him, he only lost 10-5. You know, it wasn't a 10-1 job. He did battle away, won the close frames.
Well, at one point, Hendry had made 6 centuries to lead 6-5. Yeah, every credit to Ken Doherty for sticking with him as best he could. I remember one UK Championship semi-final that Hendry played against John Parrott, and in the first session he was just unstoppable. Made 5 centuries in that in a 8-frame spell.
Ken is going to be with us tomorrow. He's currently tucking away with Rob Walker in a curry house. But anyway, yeah, what's changed, of course? I mean, that level that he produced, you know, would live with today's players. The thing is, there's more players capable of producing that level than there once was. And we've seen that this season with 11 different winners. Anyway, 4-1 it is to Zhang Anda. And his level has been pretty good tonight as well. He's made the odd mistake, but they've gone unpunished, crucially.
That was superb. Just what he needed. Not the cue ball there, but the red certainly.
Dumbo. Allan Taylor, 1.
The pack provided a very large target to hit. Just over a couple of weeks ago, Lei Pei Fan had a really good win over Sean Murphy in the first round of the Champion of Champions in Leicester. Well, He's going nicely tonight. 4-0 up on Zhang Jun.
Yeah, a bit like Zhang Anda, Lei Pei Fan now player who's looked at differently by the other players, because again, he's proved it. He's won a tournament, and of course it wasn't just that. He beat Karen Wilson, inflicted the Crucible curse. First round of the World Championship, 10-9 from 6-2 down early this year. So, you know, things like that people clearly take notice of. We'll have all that again soon, Phil. The Crucible curse. Can Zhao Xintong be the one to break it?
Well, we're the ones who are cursed, having to keep talking about it. I think if no player had ever gone there and defended the title, that's different. That would have been a curse, but it's only first-time winners. It's quite a selective curse, isn't it?
Yes, and it's not actually a curse, is it? Nobody's put a curse on anybody. It's just one of those things. It's hard to win. You go back there. I do think this, though. I think the reason very often the players don't do it is because they've got to play day one. A lot of them lose on day one. I think Kyron, had he had a few days to be around the Crucible, other people were playing. It may have been a different result. We'll never know. But anyway, the fact is they do play that day, and the fact is no first-time winners defended it. Because there's such an intense build-up now, isn't there? I mean, really I know we're talking about it now, but really from the Masters, when that finishes, that feels like the sort of the starting gun is fired, and it's the countdown. And of course, we go through the qualifying, we have Judgment Day, they have the media day in Sheffield. Such a buzz around the city. You can't be immune to all that as a player. Not a bad problem to have, though, is it? Because it means you've won the World Championship. Ooh, now caught that red on the side cushion. So this is maybe the opening Allan Taylor's been looking for, but he's really got to try and make something of this now, because he has had chances in most frames. Highest break, that 54 in the second frame that he won. Julian Leclerc 3-1 over Jack Jones, who did have a 1-3-1, Jack Jones, but Leclerc 77 in frame 4.
Six. Seven.
Getting to the point where it's simply imperative for Taylor to make the most of a chance like this. Of course, Zhang made a century in frame 5, but only after Taylor missed a black off its spot. That wasn't the cleanest pot, and that's why the cue ball is a little too close to the side cushion for full comfort. Tournament pros, they have to do certain things. They have to pot blacks off the spot. If you keep missing those, you are uber vulnerable. This time the black is run safe. But the table has been given back to Zhang. Well, he returns the compliment. That was surprising.
I think the danger for Zhang Anda is, and you know, we maybe feel the same watching it, feels inevitable he's going to win, but you know, if you start to just dial down the concentration a little bit, things can happen. Allan Taylor just wrapped the table. You want to keep him in his seat. The best way to put right what happened is to be back at the table, which he is now. So Zhang maybe just lost a little bit of focus there on that initial red. Very tough on the tour, of course, but I think Allan enjoys being a professional more than his previous job, which was he used to trawl through CCTV videotapes for the police. So he would go through hours and hours looking for sort of, you know, things that shouldn't be happening. What shouldn't be happening is losing position here, which it looks like he's done.
Allan Taylor, 7.
Well, that kiss could be described as criminal. With no colours at the business end of the table, certainly no available colours. It would take a misjudgment from Zhang to leave a red on that would be of use to Taylor. Haven't had many scrappy exchanges. In fact, there's been a break of 50 or more in every single frame.
I think the significance sometimes, though, it breaks is how do they start? And in this match, you know, there's been a lot of sort of the door being left open rather than chances being earned. Feels like an important frame, doesn't it? 5-1, you pretty much think this night over. 4-2, you could see potential for Taylor making a sustained recovery.
Well, Zhang, from personal experience, should know not to get complacent. Last year, to get to the quarter-final of the UK Championship, he came back from 5-1 down to beat Stuart Bingham 6-5.
Well, he's been a little bit lucky. He may be able to swerve this. I'm not sure he can hit it direct without a little bit of swerve, and then it's about, obviously, controlling position, and he's managed to snook himself on all 6 colours, I think. Yeah, Zhang actually was nearly on the receiving end of a new record, wasn't he? Because Judd Trump was on for the unanswered points record. And he got to, from memory, it was 526. So he was about 21 off the ranking event record set by Stuart Bingham. We were getting excited, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, 6-2 to Trump in the quarterfinals against Zhang last year. Trump made 4 centuries. So Taylor there was the victim of the side he had to put on to get the swerve.
Allan Taylor, 1.
What a shot. He looked nonplussed when he made contact with the cue ball. I think from his reaction, maybe he thought he hadn't reached. Talk about accurate. That was a really good contact. He would have liked a thinner contact on the yellow, which would have seen the cue ball deeper in bulk. But catching the reds as thin as that, that was a really good return to safety.
Well, they might actually have preferred the in off there. At least the white would have been away from the reds. In fact, this red's onto middle. Just isn't quite happening, is it, for Allan Taylor? We have our first result, Phil.
Yeah, not happening for Taylor, but it's happened for Tepchiranu. Guess what? He's first off. Shock horror. Beaten. The clock, he's beaten Robbie Williams. 6-1.
Yeah, Robbie, another of my predictions to qualify, so he's not going so well, but great with Tepchire. And of course, he's waiting for the winner here. And it means one of those other matches can come back on now. And meanwhile, Zhang rather butchered that one.
Wow. We're on the one. Oh, dear. 7.
I think that's when he's at his most susceptible when he's playing with power, certainly from lengthy range. Just to underline the excellence of Tepchiranu, made breaks of 84, 129, 67, 89 and a clinching 50.
Yeah, and the average frame time was just under 13 minutes.
What a good pot from Zhang Anda.
One.
Well, he'll need another one to keep the break going, if indeed he wants to.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to. He seems to be in control of the match. He could lay the snooker, but he's looking at the yellow here. But where the reds are, you know, he could get Allan Taylor in a nasty snooker potentially to yield the next easier opening. So it's just about weighing up the options, isn't it?
Yeah, I think if there was a little more room behind the yellow, he could lay a really fiendish snooker. Has to be quite deft here.
Bring on the one.
Not delicate enough.
Stan Moody's pulled one back against Hugo Chang, 4-2 to Hugo Chang there. 74 break from Moody. Now then, where's it all going to settle? Well, all sorts of kisses.
Not a straightforward opening red to middle, but if it goes in, Zhang could make inroads into his deficit. Big ones. He anticipated the kiss there. I think he wanted a fuller kiss on the blue.
Rumble.
Now that was cleanly struck. So easy to dig into the cue ball a little, especially because he was stretching over and slightly off balance. The cue delivery there was A1.
Yeah, and I go back to that third frame, you know, he had a bit of a horror show, didn't he, leaving the free ball out of a snooker, but Allan Taylor did not capitalise, and really since then, it just feels like Zhang Anda has been given breathing space, and at the moment he's just getting enough chances, isn't he? I mean, I know he's behind in this frame, but he's back at the table with the chance to potentially make it 5-1.
Two matches all square at the interval to tell you about. Sousa and Jamie Jones 2-2. Same scoreline, Jimmy Robertson and Sanderson Lamb.
14.
And that was a good choice, getting the black back on its spot with the two reds in close proximity to the black. Definitely beneficial. His reasoning there, he needs plenty of pots from here. He certainly needs all of the reds. And to pot the red that's closest to the top cushion with pace would be really tough. But with a black on its spot, he won't need to impart that much pace if he gets nicely on it.
$21.
And now that conundrum has been solved anyway. From here, more than likely, it should be 5-1. The hope for Allan Taylor, with the board now level, if Zhang pots this black, then two more reds and blacks, he will still need yellow and green. And look where the yellow is, posing a problem.
36. Thirty-seven.
I think he's in correct side of the blue here. So unable to leave what would be a gimme red. This one should go in, of course, but there is an element of doubt.
42. Three.
As I said, Dave, that yellow, a beacon of hope for a beleaguered Taylor.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to have much angle on the black either to get to it, so there's going to be some shot to get close to the yellow. I mean, he may just roll this in and then play safe, I guess. That goes another option, which is kind of what he's done.
Now, you might see the big target supplied by green and brown together utilised. Killed the cue ball expertly.
50.
Well, he's hit it, but he has left it. Now, of course, Zhang also needs the green. 21 in front, so he needs yellow and green. So it's all about position here. Well, he didn't intend to use the jaws to be on the green, but he'll take it.
Just taking a little extra time to settle. Yeah, the last thing you want to do on a frame ball is to rush. Before the brown went in, Taylor needed one snooker. Now he needs a miracle. There's no way he's coming back to the table. Lovely use of side.
20.
Had he played that shot in a live frame, I think it would have been very warmly appreciated.
Bring on that 20.
Poor old Allan Taylor is staring at defeat, staring at a very heavy defeat. As I once read in a newspaper, this is the phraseology there's an aura of inevitability about this match, it seems. Zhang Anda 5-1 up, one more required to go through to the final qualifying round.
Meanwhile, Jack Jones has made a second century, so he's had 2 in the match, but he still trails Julian Leclerc 3-2, and Sam Craigie's pulled one back, but he trails Tom Ford 4-2. Leipzig fans still 4-0 up against Zhang Jian. There'll be some close matches tonight for sure. We've got 2-2, Jimmy Robertson and Sanderson Lamb. 2-2, Zhu Se and Jamie Jones. Still 4-2, Hergo Chang over Stan Moody, and the other 2 matches, of course, coming back.
Everyone's got something to play for. I think Sanderson Lamb, what a match that is for him. If he could beat Jimmy Robertson, it would alleviate some of the worries he's got about possible relegation. He's inside the top 64, but only just. And when you're there, every win is to be cherished. That's why the couple of victories Michael Holt has enjoyed here, very welcome indeed for him.
Yeah, and of course we're heading towards the cut-off for the World Grand Prix after the Scottish Open. So there's this, the shootout and the Scottish, that will count towards it on the one-year list. And just looking at that, top 32 get in. At the moment on the live rankings, 32nd is Chang Bing-yu. Of course, he's been knocked out. Stan Moody's next. He might be knocked out tonight. Louis Heathcote just literally £300 behind Stan, or £400 behind him. So obviously he's in the final qualifying round. Ben Wollaston as well. So all these players, Zach Surety's in the mix. They're all obviously want to get to York, but there's other rewards in the background as well.
A possible 5 frames left. Allan Taylor needs to win them all. The way the match has gone tonight, so far, hard to imagine that will be reality.
I can tell you Liam Highfield and Pang Zhengzhou have restarted, so they were brought off earlier, but they're on that table that Tepchara Nu was on. Next available table, Hossein Vafai will resume against Dwayne Jones. Pleased to say, Phil, we've had record views so far for this year's UK Championship, 425,000 already over the 2 days. Of course, this day not over yet, so that's on YouTube. Of course, there's other platforms that are showing it, so it's great that people are tuning in. This tournament doesn't start on Saturday, does it? It started last Saturday.
Yes, and the season doesn't start on Saturday either. It started back in July. Yeah, thanks for everyone who's tuned in. Can Taylor possibly transform his fortunes and give us a grandstand finish? I don't think so. He's a really bubbly character, is Allan Taylor. Good company. I spent a day in the commentary box with him at the Championship League right at the start of the season. Thoroughly enjoyed it. But even bubbly personalities have their limits, and I think right now he's rather deflated.
Yeah, he can play better, can't he? That's the point. And he hasn't done, and time's running out for him to do so. And worse still, Zhang has played very nicely indeed. He's looked good, actually.
I think for me, if I'm grading Zhang at the moment, I would say B+.
And what a tough old teacher you'd have been, by the way.
Yeah, I think it would have been probably an A-, but I'm marking him down for that ridiculous snooker escape earlier in the match when he left a free ball needlessly. Been spending too much time with Alan McManus.
Well, he has his chance to, I guess, wrap it up here, or certainly get well on the way to doing so. And I guess he's feeling not that under pressure, really, because Allan Taylor's not putting him under it. So let's see how far he gets here. Lovely shot. Yeah, he's feeling good, I think. I guess what he needs is to just develop a little bit more consistency, performance to performance. If he can do, then no reason why he shouldn't be going deep again in tournaments. It'll be a fascinating match, assuming he comes through to play Tepchire and Nu. It's a bit of a clash of styles, isn't it? Tepchire all-out attack, quick around the table. Zhang also attacking, but a little more methodical. But yeah, well, we'll see if he does come through, which philosophy will prevail.
You know, in terms of their style, in terms of their pace of play,
20.
the two players I'm going to bracket together now could not be any more different. Zhang and
21.
the former star from Malta, Tony Drago. But they are very similar in one regard. Both can be absolutely brilliant. But when they have a bad day, it really is a bad day. But their upper ceiling is very high indeed.
$25. $26.
Yeah, he sort of just caught the pink half ball, didn't he? Which is why they haven't really moved. But if he's on this red, which I think he is to left corner, he's okay, he can keep going. You know, you can play what looks like the perfect split and not be on anything.
$32.
Seen a few blacks like this missed in these qualifiers, players sort of concentrating on playing a cannon and not potting the black. It's amazing how often that happens, honestly. It's just classic divided concentration.
32.
Yes, and it's one of those misses that occurs on both sides of the pocket. You see them overcut and undercut. Certain shots are missed consistently on one side of the pocket because of a particular trait. That one, yeah, it does go astray a lot. Now Taylor needs to stop feeling crestfallen and just try and put some pressure on Zhang in this frame and the next, and who knows?
9.
He was really off balance playing that shot. This is not the real Allan Taylor. He's better than this. And that shot just reeked of desperation and lack of confidence.
12.
Well, he's actually been very lucky where they finished. You know, he could easily have been end of match there. Could have left him nicely in. He's a shot to nothing on. Yeah, nicely done. Now then, a little kiss would be handy. But he's earned that. You know, he's played well tonight, Zhang Anda, easily the better player of the two. And now he's got his second chance to get it won and get himself an early night. Of course, he would be playing on Thursday. He'd have a day off anyway against Tepchara.
I've seen him play an awful lot, Zhang, over the years, and that shot to nothing he got in with. He's so efficient at that shot.
Just quickly, Stan Moody's pull one back, so from 4-1 down, it's 4-3 to Ergo Chang. So a bit of snooker left in that, it would seem. The man they call the Belgian Beast. What a nickname that is, by the way. Julian Leclerc, 4-2 up now on Jack Jones. Jack Jones, of course, runner-up in the World Championship just last year. And Tom Ford looking good, actually, because he's had his injuries trouble, hasn't he, with his shoulder. But 4-2, not too far from 5-2 over Sam Craigie. But as for this match, Phil, it kind of looks done.
It does indeed. It's a player playing reasonably against someone who's had a nightmare. And when that happens, one-sided scorelines are to be expected. Still plenty of snooker here, of course, this evening. And if you want to catch up with all of the developments, the latest scores and results, as Allan Taylor concedes, just download the WST app and you'll have all the live scoring results, fixtures, all you need. Well, Zhang Anda has got what he needed to reach the final qualifying round. He has defeated Allan Taylor comprehensively, convincingly, by 6 frames to 1. Well, hope you enjoy Judgment Day tomorrow and on Thursday. Dave will be here with Rob Walker, with 1997 World Champion Ken Doherty, with Stephen Hallworth to go through all of the matches. It really should be a treat. And then, by the end of Thursday evening, we will know the 32 players who will contest the tournament proper at the Victorian Plumbing United Kingdom Championship in York, starting on Saturday. For me, though, it's goodbye.
Serve on that. 6. 16 frame. What's the number 5? Six. 55. 62. 7. 71. 78. 89. 85. 86. 93. 94. 101.